In this video, we're going to cover how to do screencasting in Linux. And we're going to walk through the different steps, and I'm going to get into a little bit of the more advanced process for zooming and panning around the screen. But the first thing that we have to have is we've got to have a piece of software that's going to actually record audio and video from the monitor. What we're using is called OBS. You can download it. There's actually a Mac, Windows, and Linux version. Again, we're on Linux, so that's what we're going to be primarily focusing on. OBS actually has a lot of advanced features. You can stream with it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, but we're going to kind of stick to the basics, which is recording the audio and video from our desktop. So the first thing I want to take a look at here is we have sources for our video. And here you can see I've got a Logitech video and a screen capture device, which is what you're going to have for capturing the actual monitor. In the middle, we've got the audio mixer, and here you've got your desktop audio and the mic that you have plugged into your computer. Now, you can use all sorts of mics. You just have to play around with them and find one that actually, gives you the sound that you're looking for. I'm actually going through a soundboard and using a little bit nicer mic, but it really, is up to you what kind of quality you're looking for. Now, sound quality to me is extremely important. It's probably almost as important, if not more important, than the actual video quality itself. As long as people can hear and understand what you're saying, they'll usually deal with a little bit of the video problem. Now, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to walk through the different aspects of this process. So the first obvious thing is that we have to go in and record the screen. And then once we're done doing our illustration, we're just going to tell it to stop recording. Now, typically, when you do this, you're going to have the settings set so that you're not recording the entire desktop, but you're recording a portion of the desktop. The reason for this is, one, it allows you to have OBS over on, out of view, so that when you're starting and stopping your video, you're not actually seeing the software that you're using to do it. You're only looking at the portion of the screen that you're trying to present. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're generating the proper types of files so that when you're ready to process these files, you can get to them and do that. So we're going to take a look at settings, and we're going to go to output. And in the output, you can see here that we have the folder that we're going to generate the videos to. So when we hit stop recording, it's going to generate the video and stick it into this folder. I've got mine set to high quality, large file size. MP4 is the recording format that I'm looking for when we're done. The audio tab, I usually just leave this set to default. It usually does a pretty good job. And then the video tab actually, or the section actually gives you the size of the area that you're going to actually be recording. Now, I have mine set to 1920 by 1080. I've actually got dual monitors and very big desktops. So it's, it allows me to have just a portion of the monitor that I'm actually using to record. So that is all there is to actually recording the video. And then you just hit stop recording when you're done. I do want to mention, you're probably wigging out a little bit looking at this screen. When you're recording OBS, because it is recording the screen and it is actually on the screen, you're actually getting this, walking in the barbershop and having two mirrors on both sides of the wall where they're bouncing back and forth and giving you an infinite number of, reflections. And that's kind of what you're looking at here. So, it may be a little confusing looking at this, but just understand that the bottom area is what you're actually using, and all of this up here is just those reflections that you're seeing. The next step is going to involve opening or downloading and opening a program called Kdenlive. There's a lot of different video processing applications in Linux. I kind of prefer Kdenlive. It does everything that you're needing to do for a screencast, and it's fairly easy to use, and it's free. So what we're going to do first is we're going to navigate to our video that we just captured a moment ago, and we're going to drag that video and we're going to put it over here on the project bin. When it pops up, it's going to ask you if you want to convert that. You'll notice that it's set to HD 1080p, and we're set to 1920 by 1080. And so we want to switch this. So we're going to tell it to switch. So what we have now is we have our video and the audio, and down here in the bottom you actually have your timeline that you're going to be working off of. So what we're going to do first is we're going to drag that timeline down here to our timeline, or the video clip down here to our timeline, and we're just going to listen to it for a second and see what kind of volume we have on the actual video. In this video, we're going to cover how to do screencasting. So as you can see, we're a little bit low on the volume, and this really depends on your microphone, your settings, your gain on the microphone, and all that type of stuff. I prefer to record on a little bit lower gain and then up the sound in the application, because it tends to catch less background noise, so it's a little bit cleaner signal. It really is going to take a little bit of playing to figure out exactly what the best process is for you to do, but that's my process. So in order to fix this low volume, what I tend to do is I'll go to YouTube, for example, and I'll play a few videos and get a test, just listening to it, an estimate of how loud that is with my current sound settings. And then I will come into Kdenlive and I will adjust the dB, the gain on this particular clip, to make it pretty close to what I'm hearing in YouTube. That way my video kind of has the same volume level as some of the other videos that are out there. Now, to do that, what we're going to do is up here in this box at the top left, we're going to go to Effects. And you can come in here and search for these things. You can click on these things. We're about to use this volume keyframeable option. And if you right click on these things, you can actually add them to your favorites. And so I'm just going to jump over here to favorites, because I've already put all that stuff over here. And we're going to drag this volume control to the sound clip in our clip. And so we're just going to click that, hold the mouse down and drag it and drop it here. So now you'll see that I have a keyframeable volume control on this clip. Now I'm going to click on that sound clip, and over on the right you can see a new gain control has come up. And so all I'm going to do, usually with my videos, I'm looking at about a 5 dB gain in volume. And so just going back to what we just listened to, let's listen to it again with that effect added to it. In this video, we're going to cover how to do screencasting in Linux. So you can see that it has given us a little bit more volume on that. Now that little glitchiness there at the beginning is not actually in the audio clip. It's actually part of the fact that I'm playing this back and trying to record all this at the same time. You won't actually get that feedback in your final output when you actually export this thing. So now we have recorded the screen, we have our video here, we have modified the sound to get it to the way we like it. And so in the next step, we're going to take a look at actually starting to combine clips and change other aspects of what's going on here. Now I've gone ahead and drug the video that we just got through processing on sound, and I've put it into our Kdenlive project. And so now what we want to do is we want to look at a couple things to see how we might fix our video to make it more like what we want. The first thing I want to look at is if I click down here and look at my sound, you can see there's a little bit of blank space between the video, and I don't want to have too much air on either end of the video. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to click on the video clip, and I'm going to drag it to the right just a little bit to get rid of some of that air, and then I'm going to click here and drag that back to the beginning of my timeline, so that when I start the video up, there's less blank space there at the beginning, and it gets to moving across the video. Now, the other thing that I want to look at is over here on the end of the video, and to get over there, depending on the length, you're going to have to come down here to the bottom and click your scroll bar and scroll out to the end of the video. Now, you'll notice out here on the end, I also have some blank space. So I'm going to click on this end, drag it back, and we're going to get rid of that blank space. Now, if you remember from the previous part of the video, I actually said that this was the first step, was that we're going to use OBS. And now we're actually getting into the second part, which is talking about the sound and dealing with that. And so what I'm going to do is I want to drag this clip down here to this the end of this clip. But before I do that, I'd like to put a little change thing here to tell us what it is that is about to happen. So like kind of like a step 1, step 2 thing. And at the same time, I'd like to go back to the beginning, and instead of just opening up the video, I would like to create like an intro over here. So to do that, we're going to go up here to Project, and we're going to tell it to add a title clip. And then from here, we're just going to click out here somewhere, and we're just going to start typing. Now, we're on a black screen, so we're going to leave our text white so that it shows up good. And we're going to say, let's see, we'll say, all right, so the first thing that we wanted was about OBS, and so we're going to center justify this, kind of move it around here and get it where we would like for it to show up. And then we're just going to tell it to create the title. And when I do that, you'll notice that I get another clip up here that I can now use, and it's generated at 5 seconds. So it's 5 seconds long, which is actually longer than I want to have it be. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop it on this top video. You can see I've got multiple, and you can even add a lot more, but I've got two video clips and 2 sound clips that I can work with right off the bat. I'm going to drag this and make it a little bit, we'll make it about, let's see, that's going to be about 1.5 seconds, somewhere around there, or that'll be 1.5 seconds. And then I'm going to drag this and put it on my main timeline. I could leave it up here, but it's just easier to put it down here. I'm then going to drag my clip back up against it. Now, the next thing I want to do is, if we play this, let's take a look at what, in this right screen is what's actually playing, but let's take a look at what this looks like. In this video, we're going to cover, and you can see it's a hard pop that goes from our clip to the video, and there's no, fade in, fade out. I want to add that fade in, fade out. So to do that, I'm going to come up here, and you'll notice when I point to these clips, there's actually a little round box that shows up. Now, I'm going to zoom in on this so that you can see this a little bit better. And to do that, over here in the right-hand side, I've got a zoom level, and you can see if I scroll it to the left, it makes my clip smaller. So if I'm looking at a whole project, I can make them as small as possible so that I can see everything. Or if I really want to dig in and get to the detail of something, I can scroll it over to the right. And you can see the farther I scroll it, the more detailed our sound clip and all that gets. So what we want to do is we want to add a fade to this particular section. So I'm just going to point to the edge of that video, and I'm going to click it, and you see it says wipe. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Well, on this side, that wipe is trying to be 5 seconds long, and you can change this stuff in settings, by the way. But I want to drag it over so it's not quite so long. And then I also don't want to take forever bringing the screen into view on this side, so I'm going to drag it back as well. And so now if we take a look at what this video clip looks like, In this video, we're going to cover, so you can see over here on the right when I did that it starts to fade out our clip, and then it fades in our video on the other side. So that is how you add a title clip and then fade in and out on both sides of the clip. So the next thing that we want to take a look at is we're going to do another one. Now, again, because I zoomed in, I have to scroll a long way. So I'm going to make this smaller, and then I'm going to put my head over here, and then I'll zoom back in so that I've got a little bit of detail. We already got rid of our blank space over here. So now what I want to do is we're going to create another title clip talking about modifying your sound. So again, we're going to go to Project, Add Title Clip, and we're going to say Adjusting Sound Volume. And then we're going to tell it to create that clip. We're going to drag that clip into our video. Again, it is a little bit long, so we're going to go over here and grab it and pull it back so it's not quite so long. And also, you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse to move back and forth to make fine adjustments. So now what we want to do is we're going to grab our second video clip, and we're going to drag it, and we're going to drop it right here. Now you'll notice here there's quite a bit of blank space again. So we're going to click on this and play this for a second. The next step is going to, all right, so all of this blank space right here we don't really need, so we're going to pull that out a little bit. We don't want to cut it off too quick because then it just pops into somebody talking. So you want a little bit of blank space there, but not a lot. And now I want to fade in here. I want to fade out there. Then I'm going to pull these guys back. Grab this guy, grab it back. All right, and so now we'll do the same thing on this end. All right, so now if you take a look at how this is going to end up looking, you're seeing. The next step is, so that gets you that fade in and out. Now, the next thing that we may want to do is we may want to zoom in and out on a part of the image. And so in the next section, we're going to show you how to actually do that. Now that we are starting to see how to put this video together, let's talk about how to zoom in and pan around the screen. It's something that, you know, is pretty important when you're trying to video maybe a portion of an application and you're wanting to zoom in to show so people can see more easily what it is they're actually supposed to be doing instead of trying to look at the full screen. And so what we're going to do is I have positioned my clip, my timeline thing here, so that it is over the section of the video that I want to work with. And so I'm going to zoom in using the slider down here at the bottom so that we can get to this particular part of the video. And I'm going to position this back a little bit where that blank space is in the sound. And what we want to do is you're going to search and add to your favorites the transform tool. It's in your effects tab up here at the top. And what we want to do is we want to add an effect to this video clip. We're not doing it to the sound side, we're doing it to the video side. And so I'm going to drag this transform tool down here and drop it on this video clip. Now there's a couple things to understand, and I failed to mention something else about the gain control that we were talking about earlier related to sound, is that each video clip that you put into the project, you're going to have to add that transform or that volume thing to get it to continue through the video as if it's one continuous clip. So you can't, we're not, in other words, we're not adding an effect to this timeline element here, this whole row, we're only adding it to the clip itself. So you're going to have to continue to repeat that if you've got a whole bunch of disconnected clips that you're trying to put together, so that the sound is consistent all the way through. The same thing goes with the transform tool. If I happen to have the screen and I've videotaped one clip that has, portion one like we're doing now, and then another clip has got the sound information in it, then I'm going to have to make sure that we go and take whatever the ending transformation was on that video to apply to the very beginning of the next video clip. Otherwise, we're not going to be looking at the same thing. The screen's going to be zooming in and out, and it's going to be distracting. Now, the first time you do this, it's going to be a little bit confusing, but what we're going to do is we drag the transform onto the video clip, and just like we did with the sound clip, we're going to click on the video clip. Over here on the right, you can see the transformation tool. This is the part that you've got to kind of get in your head. It's not complicated at all, but it takes a second to think through. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click the little plus sign with the stopwatch here to add a keyframe. So when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add it. You can see the little red dot shows up, and it tells me that I have a keyframe there. And you'll notice in the keyframe dialog over here that I have a little red triangle up there telling me that that's the one that's selected. But here's the thing. This first keyframe that I add is holding the zoom ratio of what comes before it in place. And what I'm trying to say is, if I were to change the zoom aspect or anything about this video clip at this first transform, what will happen is from the very beginning of the clip until it reaches that point, the video is going to be slowly moving toward this particular transformation. But I don't want a transformation over here to the left. I want to keep it full screen until I get to this particular point. And so this first transform is holding at whatever that aspect was. It's holding it in place until I get here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the space bar and play just for a second, because I want to decide how long I want it to go between the full screen and what I want to zoom on. So the first thing I want to about right in there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add another transformation. So we're going to hit the key, and now you can see I've got two dots here, and then it's hard to see up here, but you've got two in the dialog. Now on this particular transformation, this is where I want the magic to happen. This is where I want to change everything. So we're looking at the screen up here on the top right. That's what the final production is going to look like, although it'll be a lot more clear. But this is what I'm looking at, and I want to zoom the screen so that it fits between here and settings. So I want to zoom in, not a lot, but a little bit. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the size, and I'm going to click and hold and drag to the right to increase the size of the video. And so we're going to get about where we think we're going to be. Then we're going to do the same thing to our X. We're going to click on the X, click and hold, and we're going to drag it whichever direction we think it needs to go to get to what we want to look at. And then we're going to go to the Y, and we're going to drag it up a little bit so that we're looking at the full dialogue. So what we have just done now is we have changed the aspect, the pan and the zoom of that particular clip, so that now if we go back over here to the beginning and I hit the space bar to start playing, so now we're looking at full screen from our desktop. So the first thing I want to take a look at here in a little bit, we have, so that gives us the view that we want to actually be seeing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play through the video, and we're going to get to the part where I open up the settings control, because that was something else that gets done. And so right here you can see that I'm about to click on the settings button, and so we're going to go a little bit before it. and we're going to add another transform right here. Now, again, this transform is holding the position of that last zoom and pan that we did. It's holding it in place because I don't want to change it until after I get to this particular transformation. So now we have a keyframe added where we want to leave it alone. And so now we're going to play our clip, and we're going to get to where we actually open up the dialogue. And so we're still talking, and we may actually want to go a little bit farther because that was not where I opened the dialogue. All right, so here is where I open the dialogue. So I was a little premature here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click on the little red button, the little red ball here, and I'm going to move it down here because this is actually where I wanted for that transformation to take place. So now that I have that beginning transformation, we're holding it in place, and now we're going to go to where we've opened up this dialogue. Now I'm going to add another keyframe, and I might not want it to take that long to get there. I'm going to add another keyframe, and so between the two keyframes is where the change is going to take place. And so now what I want to do is I want to zoom in on this particular dialogue. So we're going to zoom a little bit more, and then we're going to move our X and Y to get this on the screen. And so we zoomed out or zoomed in just a little bit too much. So we're going to back up just a little bit, change our Y, and that's pretty close. And so these keyframes allow you to move around on the screen as you're changing things. And again, you don't want to use it too much because you'll get everybody drunk. But when you're looking at something that you want to focus on, this is how you actually go about doing it. And you can move your keyframes. You can delete. If you wanted to delete the keyframe that we just added, you just come right here and hit the little stopwatch with the minus sign. It'll delete it. So you can play around with these keyframes and learn how to zoom in and out on your photos to get the actual presentation that you're looking for. Another thing that you may have to do from time to time is when you run into a situation like this, where I was going through the presentation and I was trying to play the clip, but you can see how much error is in here where I was getting everything ready to play. I would like to kind of have that not be so exaggerated. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the X key. And if you forget all these, you can look right up here. You've got the scissors and you've got your pointer. When you point to them or click on them, they'll actually change the tool. If you point to it, it'll tell you to hit an X for that and an S for that. So either way you want to do it, click it or hit your key. But what I want to do is I'm going to actually cut this clip, and I'm going to do it right about in there. And then I'm also going to do it about here. And then I'm going to hit the S key to go back to my select tool, and I'm going to click on that part of the clip, and I'm going to delete it. Now, what I need to do at this point is I need to drag this clip back to the left. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out here so that you can see that I have clips and transitions and things over here to the right. And so I don't want to just drag that one clip back, because then I got to go drag all of the other pieces, and I may have hundreds of clips after this particular transition. So what I really want to do is I want to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to click and drag over all of my video elements, and then I'm going to zoom back into what I was trying to do, and I'm going to drag that clip back. But what it just did is it actually drug all of my clips back together so that I don't have to go and modify all of those things, individually. I do want to mention though, because we cut this clip after we had set the transform, that, in earlier we were talking about the fact that you have to apply these things from one clip to the next. But in this particular case, because we cut that after we had set the transition, it actually applies that transition to this second part of this clip. So you don't have to go and mess with it as long as you set your transition first. So in conclusion, there are there most definitely are more streamlined processes for doing screencasting on Windows and Linux, Windows and Mac. But Linux is fully capable of doing everything that you need to do. Kdenlive actually has a lot of additional features, as does OBS. So I would recommend looking into those products a little bit deeper, and you'll probably find some things that will speed things up even more. But at least you can see that Linux is fully capable of doing screencasting, and it's pretty impressive when you consider that all of the software that we're looking at are all free.